I am a traditionalist, and I talk about traditionalism, but a major strand of thought on the right is Paleo-Conservatism, and it's worthwhile pointing out what we agree on and what we do not agree on. On most issues we are in agreement. Both agree that tradition and custom are important, that we owe a great deal to our Western heritage, which includes both its pagan and Christian past, Greek and Roman and North European combined with Christian civilization, that family is at the centre of life and that without the family being strong, only tyranny can rule in its place. We share a distrust of big business, government, political parties, ideas and non-government organisations. In other words, everything should be human-sized, not big and impersonal or simply by its size be in danger of crushing us. We jointly oppose the isms, feminism, socialism, communism, fascism, Nazism. All of these are impersonal forces that seek to crush the little and the big. We share a belief that people are different both as individuals and as groups, that race, ethnicity and nationality are real, and they can and do make people different, maybe better, maybe worse, but different, just as men and women are different. That religion is not something old and worn out, but something that is needed, and when it vanishes, people do not become rational. They instead find a new religion. One now based not on tradition and custom, but on the fashion of the day, no matter how silly or destructive. We agree on a lot. What we disagree on is foreign policy. Paleo-Conservatism is an American philosophy, once called isolationism. Once upon a time, it made sense. America was in a real sense isolated from the realities of the outside world, but that isolation ended. For better or worse, it does not exist anymore. America was lucky that it ever existed. The only reason it existed was that even after the Revolution, Britain was her main trading partner, and what a jealous partner she was. The Royal Navy, as much as the United States Navy, kept America isolated from the political realities in the rest of the world. That wouldn't last forever, and it didn't. America itself ended its isolation by becoming a large trading nation. Big business ended isolation before the Spanish-American War, before World War I, and well before Pearl Harbor. Trade involved America in the affairs of other nations and other people. Trade still involves America in the affairs of other nations and people. Of course, America is not alone in that. Most nations are so involved, but America has the world's largest economy. It has Wall Street, it has Hollywood, it's the birthplace of jazz, country and western, rock and roll and hip-hop, as well as producing enormous amounts of television. It is often forgotten, but shouldn't be, that American culture leaves a very big imprint. I would argue even bigger than its economic, political or military impact upon the world. The idea that America can step out of the world is a very strange idea indeed. Now, two other countries also have a paleo-conservative tradition, Canada and the United Kingdom. Because Canada is so close to the United States, it often picks up things that others might not notice simply because they are further away. Paleo-conservatism is one of these things. I don't know enough about Canadian politics to say too much, but I have noticed how different Canada's response to international crises are compared to Australia or New Zealand. Canada has much more of a hands-off approach. The United Kingdom also has a tradition, but it's known as Little Englander. A Little Englander was a term of contempt for British, normally English, conservatives who didn't really like the empire and thought Britain should have as little to do with Europe as possible. Trade if need be, but apart from that, keep out. To see a modern version of a Little Englander, you can read the newspaper columnist Peter Hitchens. The problem with all of that is that it ignores the practical realities that exist. It is not possible to live in a world where our enemies, and everyone has enemies, just ignore you and don't trouble you. The question is, when you are challenged, what do you respond? Do you do it when the Nazis come to power, or wait until they break the Treaty of Versailles, or the Ruhr, or Austria, or the Sudetenland, or the rest of Czechoslovakia, or Poland, or Denmark and Norway, or France and the Low Countries, or Britain, or Pearl Harbor? Either you do something at some point, or you capitulate. There's no third option. Not really. Doing nothing is capitulation. Far too often I see the option do nothing. At least it's consistent, I guess. But the consequences are not mentioned because it is always supposed to be someone else's problem. There is no responsibility and little concern for outside issues. If your only option is, get out, we should never have been there, you shouldn't be surprised that you have no influence upon events or opinions. And that's a real problem. Traditionalists believe that foreign affairs continues and that we should be a part of it. That foreign relations, trade, diplomacy, and military intervention all have their place. War is part of human existence, and we must be prepared for it. And it is nearly always better to fight in someone else's country than in our own, if we have a choice about it. That we should have allies and friends, and that we should stick by them just as we expect them to stick by us. That we should have principles, and that we should be prepared to defend them, even fight for them. And that sometimes the situation is simply wrong, and that we should be part of righting it, even if that means war.